Hi, this is Dom.
Emily,
Jenna,
and Adrian. And we're going to be analyzing the passages titled Encountered in the novel For the Time Being by Annie Dillard.
Dillard showcases human tendencies and flaws through a series of random encounters to highlight the similarities between all individuals and to illustrate the importance of authenticity.
Throughout the novel, Annie Dillard used the silent encounters that greatly impact the narrator to illustrate that human connection originates in the ability to be authentic with one another. To showcase this concept, Dillard utilizes periodic structure, imagery, and a unique insight to the narrator's conscience. While walking in what is described to be a colorless desert with no birds and no clouds, the narrator spots a blue crab. By using this bland imagery, Dillard highlights the unlikelihood of this event. The narrator calls a passerby over and they admire the crab before parting ways. While reflecting on the story, the narrator provides key details from his stream of conscience at the time. He recalls that the two went on to discuss the crab, I think, for he spoke Dutch, none of which I understood. By including the parentheses in this quote, Dillard highlights the severity of the stranger's language barrier, which puts emphasis on how little it affected the two. Many believe that one must speak in order to be heard, but Dillard contrasts this idea in the scene. Although the two are unable to speak to one another, they are still united under the desert sky to share this experience with one another. To further reinstate this concept, Dillard uses periodic sentences combined with a unique insight into the narrator's conscience to show the depth of connection that a narrator feels with the stranger. As they part ways, the narrator recalls that the man looked at her significantly, as if to say, "We meet." In this queer bare spot, home of nobody, under the sky, two humans stand side by side to look at a crab. By including this periodic sentence and unique insight into the narrator's conscience, Dillard forces the audience to realize how easily this opportunity could have been missed if the two had not been authentic with one another. She encourages the audience to be authentic with one another and suggests that if they fail to do so, the facade that they put up for themselves will hold them back from seizing all of life's great opportunities.
In Chapter 1, Annie Dillard introduces a hefty man in his 60s whose face is bashed in. He sings an Elvis song.
Love me tender, love me sweet.
The classic love song allows the man to express himself more deeply than his words achieved throughout the passage. The Elvis impersonator repeats the phrases, "Thank you very much," and "just kidding," 3 times over the course of his interaction with Dillard. This anaphora reveals the man's uncertainty of himself. He speaks quickly and slurs his words, adding to the feeling that much of his story is fabricated. The antithesis of placing the 2 phrases side by side emphasizes his internal turmoil. What he says out loud does not match what goes on in his mind. He uses his words to put a facade to block out the world from his insecurities. In Chapter 5, a heavy old woman gets stuck in a chair after her friends leave the room. They all left, except the very oldest one, the very wisest one. Dillard approaches the woman and attempts to free her from the small chair. "I used all my strength. Still no dice." The woman repeatedly says sorry. The struggle in the chair symbolizes the insecurities we let restrict us from living free and happy lives. As much as Dillard tried to help free the woman, they did not succeed until the woman also pushed herself from the chair. This directly represents that we cannot be free unless we control and erase our own insecurities.
Dillard uses both the baby and the merchant to show that people are either generous because they are ignorant or because they've experienced it before. When the baby handed Dillard the keyring, several hundred Yemens held their breaths to watch what Dillard was going to do. Dillard uses apostrophe to amplify that people automatically think the worst when people are only trying to be generous. Dillard also shows the human nature of people when the merchant is handing out free wine. Her friends thought it was a trick, which Dillard responded by using sarcasm, saying, "Put a man through life for 60 years and he's generous to strangers," which is not believed to be reality. Joseph and Dillard first meet over cigarettes. While waiting, she got him a Coke and pulled out her book. Joseph says, "Before dinner, at hotel, I invite you," which leads Dillard to use stage direction to show her shock and confusion. Joseph then uses anaphora to emphasize that it was for drink only. And Dillard uses this interaction to emphasize that it is human nature to automatically think the worst of people and their actions. Overall, Dillard uses the baby, the merchant, and Joseph to show the reality of human tendencies.
The final tendency that Dillard experiences is the tendency to reflect on our actions and contemplate if we did the right or wrong thing to do. Dillard contemplates the significance of God and if these encounters are destined by God or just coincidences. Dillard personifies God in saying how humans suck the living strength out of God and treat God as just a mere object to feed off of. Dillard is stressing that less and less people have a proper understanding of God and that society is moving away from religion in order to express one's free will in making decisions. Dillard incorporates sarcasm into her characterization of God by calling him the compassionate and the all-merciful God while delivering it in a tone that doesn't line up with her views of God in other sections of the book. Dillard channeled through different religions throughout her life, and in the book she displays her non-affiliation with God and her overall breakaway from religious beliefs altogether. Dillard undermines having faith in God by exaggerating how only a deeply grounded and fully paradoxical view of God can possibly rationalize the assumption that God knows and loves all human beings. Dillard finds it hard to believe that God loves every one of us when she comes across individuals who suffer with things like Down syndrome and others who battle just to get out of a chair. Finally, Dillard's purpose is to explain how all humans contemplate their faith and belief in God and the importance of using your free will to act without constraint in order to live an authentic and worthwhile life.
Overall, Dillard uses encounters to highlight shared human tendencies and illustrate connections between being authentic and living a fulfilling life.